It's a beautiful morning. I think I'll pull outside for a while and just smile. Just taking some clean, fresh air for
Smooches again. This is part two about Edna. Okay, so Edna, again, I don't know whether you watched the last video about meditation. I talked about Edna being, at that point in my life where I needed to kind of start all over again. And I had asked for a spiritual guide when I was at my lowest, and someone like Marlene. But I knew I had to do some work first. I had to get back into some routines, do meditation. I was practicing my cards and doing whatever I could with the knowledge I had up to that point with spiritual work. And I also had mentioned that, you know, because of the place that I was at and the sincerity of my intentions in my heart, spirit started moving things. The next thing I know, my aunt came up because I was all alone in Utica at that time. And my family, my mom, my aunt must have felt it. She was also a Gemini. I'm a Gemini too. Um, they just said, "You're up there by yourself. Why don't you come down here to my mom?" She was living in Pennsylvania at the time. And, I said yes. I felt, I was just going to go with the flow, whatever. And it made sense and it was good. And, so that's what I did. I went to Pennsylvania and got a job at a cake making place. And that my cousin, well, I guess she's my cousin, um, my niece, had got me a job with and stuff. And even though I was in their home and stuff, I still practiced my meditation and I kept it going. I was trying to be a good girl. So a little time had gone by, and next thing I know, my sister calls me. She lives in New York, upstate New York. And she said, you have a lot of experience with retail. How about we open up a store and you run it, and I'll finance it, because I didn't have any money at the time. I was like, yeah, cool. All right. So we kind of, I went to New York shortly after that. And uh, during that time, I had the best time with my sister, I will say. We did a lot of laughing, and it was a great experience, um, opening that store together. Um, and it was the Maybrook General Store, and it was based on a store that I managed in Georgia. Anyways, um, so at her house again, we're working, we're getting that place set up and everything, ready to go. And we finally opened it, and things are going good. And I felt like I had done as much as I could with the knowledge I had meditating, and I was in good practices and stuff. And so I had made a declaration in the morning one morning, okay, I think I'm ready for a physical guide. I'm open to it. If you've got somebody, please send them my way, sort of thing. And it was the most bizarre thing, because that day at the store, I mean, there could be a joke. A rabbi and a nun and a witch came into the store. Well, actually, I think it was a priest and a nun. And I had conversations with each of them. And then a woman by the name of Bernice, who was known as the Montgomery Witch. Montgomery was next to the town that I was at. Came into the store, and we just had the best conversations, and we clicked. And one way or another, we exchanged phone numbers. I ended up going over to her house, and though Bernice is one of the most interesting people that I know, and very artistic. She makes these wonderful, maybe one day I'll put it on here, but like wire trees, kind of like what's in back of me here. Um, they're gorgeous. And anyways, um, we've had a couple good laughs, but anyways, there was still something that just, like, almost like I couldn't feel the initiation into the spiritual practices being there yet or something. There was something missing. I enjoyed her company. I felt like I was kind of out of place because I was insecure and didn't figure out, you know, uh, whether that how that situation was going to work out. But one day when we were together, her sister-in-law, Edna, came over, and it was almost like immediately for me, and later talking to Edna, she felt the same thing, and I kind of felt bad, like, you know, how's Bernice going to feel about this? Because, you know, I feel like Edna's the one that I'm actually supposed to be hanging out, but knowing Bernice, I mean, we've never really talked about it, but she's a very spiritual person herself, and I kind of figured she must have known um, that she was the connection there. And so we exchanged phone numbers, Edna and I, and just ended up, she came over to go for a walk one day because I didn't have a car. She came over. But she lived pretty close. I could walk to her house. It would take me like an hour or something. But so in this walk, first, let me explain. The picture that was on this video at the beginning, I don't know what you call it, to click on to watch this video, that's Edna. She was a Leo woman, and she had the mane and she had the presence. You could just tell, you know what I mean? She just drew you to her. And so I really was intimidated. Like, why would she want to hang out with me, sort of thing. And anyways, we'll go into that. So as we went on this walk, I don't know why, but like I kept feeling like I was saying things wrong, or you know, interrupting her, whatever the case may be. But I just felt like I kept saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." So finally, she just stopped, and she was dead serious with me, looked me in the eye, and said, "If you say you're sorry one more time, we can't hang out together." And at first, I was really taken aback by that, but then, thank God, quickly I recognized that that was the most honest anybody had ever been with me. You know, to be that upfront, like, if we're going to do this, let's be honest with each other. Let's don't bring BS into it, or I don't know how to explain it, but I was like, okay, you know, all right, I'm not sorry, you know, whatever. But from that day forward, we had decided to get together on a Tuesday, and then the next Tuesday, and the next Tuesday, and pretty much for a complete year, I can't think of too many Tuesdays that we didn't get together for like the whole day. Her family, they knew it was Tuesday. They gave us the room in the house to get together and to work on spiritual things. We had several people. Bernice used to come and work with us, and Linda, another friend of ours, Anita, you know, several people would come and go in this Tuesday gathering. And we did additional things. They introduced me to drum circles and gave me my first drum. And so the amazing thing about this getting together like that, and even though she would say, you know, it benefited both of us, we were both teacher and student, you know, I really felt like it was, she was just so much more advanced in spiritual thinking and being, that, you know, I really felt like I was more the student. But I never felt that when we'd get together on Tuesday morning, we'd start off having a conversation, just see what was up with us, what kind of concerns, and we'd talk about something without any answers or anything, but we'd talk about it, and then we would just naturally, through our instincts, start looking at this book or that book, whether it's astrology or the Crone stones or whatever, and it never failed. By the end of the evening, we'd come to realize that it evolved into giving us the answer to what we were asking early in the day. It was amazing. It was the best church I could ever belong to. One thing I was going to mention too, and talk about going to her house. Another thing I learned from her, that might not be along the spiritual thing. I think I'm making a noise here. But anyways, another thing that was very different when you walked into Bernice's house or Edna's house or any of these ladies that I met during this period of time, their decorating of their home was a reflection of who they were spiritually. And I'd never known anybody in my life to do that. Because when you walked into Edna's house, you knew how she felt about things, what her biggest beliefs were. Same thing with any of them. Uh, I mean, it changed my whole way of what I put in my home and the colors I used and versus the white walls. You know what I mean? That say nothing. And I thought that was such an eye-opening thing because your home, whether you're talking about your body home or your physical home, to be able to go into it every day and feel that comfort of belonging and the energy of having the things that invoked creativity in you. And it was just a different thing altogether. And I absolutely can. And I think more and more women or people do that now. I kind of feel like it's along the bohemian kind of idea of decorating. But even with that, it's not just a style, whereas the bohemian thing is a style. It's their kind of decorating was a way of being. And um, okay, I don't know what else to say about that, but it was just totally comfortable and colorful and relaxing. And yeah, okay, what else can I say about? All right, so with Edna, um, the things that we did during that year, the astrology, we really studied things that, even though we talked about situations in our lives or people in our lives that uh, evoked anger for us or um, negative feelings. I mean, it's a good thing in the end we call it a mirror because it makes us really look at it like, why are you so upset? What is it about that situation? It's about you and not about the other person. She used to say something like, or somebody said, maybe it was Marianne Williams, what somebody else thinks is none of your business. But you can reflect on the emotion it brings out in you, and that's something you need to learn. So it was, everything we did was trying to get us to understand what's keeping us from being all that we possibly can so that we could start creating the life that we want to live, the experience we want to have. Um, and in that, I really came to learn about energy and about letting go of what doesn't serve you. Because if so many people, I mean, that's what I was doing is hanging on to the same emotions and putting expectations on other people to behave a certain way that it's just not going to change. It's not going to happen because it's not their natural way of being. It's my issue. If people are treating me a certain way or not appreciating me to a certain degree, whatever I was uh, insecure about, it was still my issue, and learning that I had to find what made me happy or made me calm or, um, and sometimes, it doesn't mean you have to be around a lot of people and you have to be loved by a lot of people and everything. It really does come down to, do you love yourself? Are you comfortable with yourself? What does make you happy? You know what I mean? Why are you trying to get it from other people and everything? And that can be a sad thing too when you realize that your intention for being around people is not true neither. And you got to release it. You got to let it go. The words of Marlene definitely stay with me. Like, not everybody's meant to be around you your whole life. And, I can say for myself, I am, between the two of them, yes, there's several people in my life that as I read the book, were my best mirrors, my biggest mirrors to really be able to see my own reflection of what my issues were. But especially with the time with Edna, if I hadn't taken that time, I don't think I'd ever meet my husband. I definitely wouldn't be as happy as I am now, as content as I am now. Everything I have or have experienced since then is definitely due to the time that we spent together every Tuesday, and I'm forever grateful. And you know, I don't talk about this too often. Oh, well, let me point out one other thing that I found very interesting. One day, Edna had come up to New York because after a year, I decided, that I was going to move up to where my son was, upstate New York, um, for several reasons. And uh, I think Edna would definitely see the truth in it, and that, I needed to learn to make my own decisions because I was really relying on Edna for her opinion. And, though I was disagreeing with it a lot and getting a little upset by it because it wasn't what I wanted to hear, I didn't agree with some of the things, and it was hard for me to say to this beautiful Leo woman, I'm sorry, I think you're wrong. For me, I think no. Um, and shame on me because I should be a better communicator than that. Um, but I did need to kind of do things on my own for a while, and she would come up there. I would go down to visit her, um, and uh, I was going to say something and I kind of forgot about it, but um, anyways, um, it just unfortunately um, got to a point where something had happened, and something was said, and um, I was hurt by it, and instead of being able to communicate, oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Hold on. When she was up there once, my mom was living with me and my husband, and we're sitting around the table one day, and come to find out that Edna's mother and my mother, although we hadn't known each other before that time that we went for a walk, um, they were born the same day at the same hospital. So things happen, you just kind of have to figure it was meant to happen. There was so many things about the two of us. We were both in the military, Edna and I, and just things. But that whole thing with mom was like a mind blower. Like, yes, we were supposed to know each other, and I did consider her my sister. And so anyways, there was an incident, and just, sometimes you need to walk away and you need to take some time out and, figure out, what the issue is. And unfortunately, a few years after that incident, and we hadn't been around each other much, at all, up to that point, she did get cancer, and I was very grateful for a friend that also knew Edna to say, something was wrong. Would you want to know? And I said, of course I would, So we did have the opportunity to get together again and to talk about things, and to, I won't say clear the air, but um, be a little bit more at peace of what happened. Peace at what happened. I hope for her as well as for myself. And unfortunately, she passed. And the family, even though at first I was like, I don't want to do this, asked me to do a eulogy, and I'm so glad because I did get to say more of how much I appreciated her and what she did mean to me. So I am forever grateful for that opportunity. Um, and, I feel like there's a lot that happens in my life, and I feel like it is present with me often. Um, So I am grateful that I got that opportunity to get to know her and have her in my life, and I feel she felt the same way. Um, so I think that's how much time has been on there. 20 minutes. Okay, so now I'm going to do a 3 card reading for us. Get my deck out here and see what lesson we need to think about this week, maybe that can help us with situations and such. So let me shuffle them. I'll just get my intentions on there for, and I realize that in some of what I was talking about, being present. And I kept saying, once your mind comes into it, you're already in the present, but I meant to say the future. The past, the present, and the future. The now is present. So I'm sorry if I was confusing about that, but like I said, I don't want to do a lot of editing. I just want it to be, I make mistakes. So, okay, so let's do a past, present, future. That can help us in our day-to-day lives now. Give us some guidance. Okay. Spread these cards out. I'm going to put this down, but then I can't see. Let me see. I'm going to turn it this way. I kind of can see so that you can see kind of what I'm doing. So I'm just going to use my intuition, and my past will be there. My present will be right there. And my future's right there. Okay. Forgot. Oh, we've had this card before, haven't we? All right, so. Well, I dropped the camera. That's why I should move it. Okay, so let's go over these cards. So in the past, what I've got is the 9 of Cups. And this to me is talking about, when we've initiated a project or a job or something we've given birth to, is what I like to say. We're in our 9th month. It's really time to review how everything is. And we talked about being organized and everything. But in anything that we do as far as getting prepared for a new chapter, do some reviewing so that you can learn from it. See what you've done to get, I always talk about keeping lists, a negative, a positive. What were some of the rough spots that you had, and what could you have done differently so that you don't have to go through that again, so it's really a review of what got you to that point. You're almost there. You're going to be starting a new project probably after that, or a new chapter when you see that this is coming into conclusion of check, I saw it through, you know what I mean? So there's questions there about, are you really ready, prepared for this next chapter, for completing this so that you can completely start anew. So, and maybe in your head, you thought you were ready, but there's still some things that you can tighten up and be better prepared and give yourself a little bit more cushion maybe. Maybe it's talking about, well, it's in cups and it's emotions and things like that, but there could be some things that you can do to be better prepared. What came to mind was money. It's like, say you're getting ready to go on a trip and you've been, putting aside a little nest egg. Well, if the opportunity arises and you can put a little bit more in there just to be on the safe side, to make sure in case there's any emergency or anything like that, you got it. So that's the kind of review to make sure you're as prepared as you can be for the next chapter, to finish up this project so that you can start the next one and completely be done with it. um, have you done that? Have you just double check things to make sure, because you are that close to finishing, and it'd be an awful time for something to go wrong then. um, Again, we've talked about the four swords for being in the present position. um, there might be a little time in between, finishing this project and starting the next one. You might have had it in your head, okay, I'm going to give birth to this, and then as soon as that's done and I've got that aside, then I can start working on this. Well, you might see that there's a little pause, and everything happens for a reason. Maybe it's better. Maybe your body needs a little rest. Maybe you need to spend a little time just relaxing and rejuvenating yourself to get ready for the next cycle, because everything's energy, and you need to make sure you've got enough energy you know to move on to the next project so that you don't burn out. So there is kind of a call for just take a little time out for yourself. You don't have to be a workaholic if that's the situation, that you feel like you just got to keep going, you got to keep adding, and that's uh, fine, but eventually you're going to need to rest. And um, so the one in the future, the Three of Swords, it's an interesting card, because to me that's always about when we've made up our minds that this is the best thing for me in moving forward. Um, Not everybody gets it, you know, and especially, I mean, what comes to mind, especially, sometimes when you talk to your family and they don't get it, often they're not in the place where they're going to put their own feelings aside so that you can do what's best for you. A lot of times, people play these guilty, manipulative games, and, get people to stop what they're doing or what they want to do, and try to serve the needs of others to satisfy them, to, so that they're not upset. And, you know, sometimes that's not the best thing. You got to be true to yourself sometimes, and you have to see where the energy is, and what the motivations are behind things, and be truthful about that. You know, if people are saying to you, "Oh, this isn't such a good idea," but you're being stubborn, and in your own, if you were being truthful with yourself in your own space, you're saying, "Oh, I don't think this is going to work, but I'm not gonna, because they'll think it was their idea, then I'm not, going forward on this, so I'm going to go forward." Well, that's stupid. I hate that word, but you know, above whatever anybody else says or does or thinks, be true to yourself. And sometimes, if people love you, they don't, if truly in their hearts they can clearly see, and it has nothing to do with their ego, that this is not a good plan. You're going to go bankrupt, or you're going to, you know, get yourself in a bad place. What's coming to mind, and I know this sounds awful, but, and sometimes there's not anything anybody can do, but, sometimes you meet somebody, and, you know, it just, hormones, and you're moving really fast, and you're having a relationship, and sometimes the mighty triangle can be really tempting for a man in particular, and so you want to get married just so that you can have the freedom to do whatever the heck you want, but everybody else can see that it's not a good match, and it's not, whether physically, with money or anything, that just wait a little while, set yourself up first. Let's say, give it a little time, make sure, your people around you that love you are trying to say that for your good, and not just their, you know, they're seeing something that you're just being blind. I'm talking about that sort of situation. So you have to be truthful with yourself, and, you know, you don't have to make any decisions on the spot. If someone says, I can't help but tell you how I really feel, because I love you, it's just as easy as saying, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm going to take a few days out for myself just to look at the situation by myself, away from whatever situations. Use some good judgment, and you can look at the situation as far as am I being truthful with the way I look for I'm looking at it. Is there signals within myself that's saying you need to just slow down, or just take a break, or whatever? You have to honor all that. But if like every part of your being is saying, this is it, this is what I feel in my heart I should be doing, then you gotta go do it. You know what I mean? So that's what this reading is for. Being truthful to yourself. You know, um, you can listen to what other people say, but people have egos and their own motivation. So you've got to be true and kind of look at things and see if you can recognize where they're coming from. Is it a place of love, or is it a place of selfishness, or that sort of thing? But in the end, be truthful to yourself on you know what your intuitions are telling you. So okay, so that's let me look at this real quick. Oh, that's interesting. Sometimes I look at the numbers. So we've got a 9 and a 4 and a 3. So 7 and 9, 16. 6 and 1 is 7. To me, sevens are all about finding the answers to the issues that are coming up in your life. Don't ignore them. I mean, you can. Everybody has a choice and what they can do, and you can just keep going and doing whatever. And as long as you're willing to say, it's just an experience. If I've got to, take 5 steps back and I'm completely broken, I'm willing to take that chance. Okay, so it really comes down to you and what you want to experience. Okay. All right, so again, I will say I give thanks to all of you for being present. I pray that you go forward in your day feeling more connected to all that is around you. Let the light of spirit shine in you, through you, and all around you. Blessed be, so be it. I appreciate you. Thank you.